freaking out now about communists in the United States after the Korean War. And people started to think, okay, is communism going to stop in Korea, or is it going to keep going? You know, they thought we'd go into Vietnam, and some people thought, well, now communism is going to try to take over the U.S. And people, we can see this all the way through like TV shows. We can see it through movies from the time period.
Are you still recording?
Yep, recording. All right, but people said, okay, if they can take over China now, they can take over the Soviet Union, where is this going to stop? Does anybody know who this picture is that's about to come up?
Yes.
Flash.
I know it.
Oh.
This is leader of something. King.
No, it's a Chinese leader, the guy that basically made China communist.
Well, I don't know.
Oh, it's Mao Zedong. He's the guy that his picture's on the background when Forrest Gump's playing ping pong in China.
I knew that.
But, you know, people started to question whether American communists, and there were 100,000 people that claimed to be members of the Communist Party in America. The Communist Party was a political party just like any other party. All right? So, you know, there was no law saying you can't be a communist, but now people are starting to take those steps to try to say, let's get the communists out of America. You can see these people are in the United States. You can tell from the billboards and signs in the background. They're holding signs saying defend the Soviet Union. So while a lot of Americans were scared to death of communism, there still were a decent number of Americans that were thinking, what's wrong with it? Well, under Truman, there's a loyalty review board set up to make sure that people who had government jobs were very loyal to the American government and had the ideals that most people at the time would consider to be a good patriotic American. And then the House of Representatives starts something called HUAC, or House Un-American Activities Committee, to investigate these people. They went after communists in the movie industry. Why do you think the movie industry would be?
No people would see it.
All right, people would see it, right. Let's say if you're a Hollywood scriptwriter and you got communist leanings, people, believe it or not, started to get afraid that they would put subliminal messages into their movies that would try to influence Americans to embrace communism. So they started questioning everybody, and if you look at this cartoon, this is how some people saw House Un-American Activities Committee. All right, you can tell this chubby guy in front with the shotgun says he's the House Committee. This guy beside him looks like he's questioning him. And what are on the paw prints that they're chasing down? What'd you say, huh? Right, little hammer and sickle from the Soviet flag. And he's saying, investigate them. No, that's my posse. Talking about the KKK and the group of professional bigots behind them. So they're kind of implying that the House Un-American Activities Committee isn't really being great in upholding American ideals. They're just kind of holding up the ideals of people like KKK and professional bigots, or people who are racist or judge people for no good reason. And there were a lot of people that were called in and questioned in front of the House Un-American Activities Committee about their background. There's a, are you now or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? And you would be asked that, and you would be asked to name names or name the other people who were members of the Communist Party that you knew. And this group of 10 Hollywood producers and directors, they refused to name names. Basically, in modern terminology, they refused to snitch. Yeah, Jalen.
I remember when we were doing the Crucible, it was basically based on this, like the Red Scare, and about how you could like be questioned and everything, but they didn't believe you even if you told the truth. And the only way, if you lied and said that you were, then they would let you go.
Yeah. They would be looking for answers that they wanted. It's not like they were looking for honest answers always, but these people were sent to jail. Here's a protest, people saying free the Hollywood 10. So a lot of people started to question, do we really have freedom of speech in America? You know, if you can be sent to jail for simple things like this. And does anybody know what it would be called if you were fired and not given any other jobs because you refused to name names? Same thing happened to labor union workers. They're getting blacklisted. All right, so if you're blacklisted, that means that people think you have a communist background, so you're losing your job, and you're probably not going to get any other jobs anytime soon.
Don't they still use that term today?
Yeah, they do.
Like black
All right, and taking this one step further, the McCarran Act makes it so it's unlawful to establish a totalitarian dictatorship in America. I would think that to most people that would be kind of common sense, right? You can't overthrow the government and make it a dictator. But this would word it in a way that the president at that time could deport anybody that he thought was undesirable, that he thought might be threatening to do this. You didn't have to, make an outright effort to. You had to show some leaning. So this is to try to make sure we don't have somebody like Stalin or Mussolini come to power in America. And then we start to investigate spies in our own country. And one of the first big cases was Alger Hiss, a guy that's arrested and charged with perjury. What's perjury? It's when you lie under oath.
Which is what
Yeah, it's what Bill Clinton, people said he did, why he got impeached. All right, so people are starting to worry that the Soviets are infiltrating the American government. They're trying to steal our secrets. And the next big spy case is going to be Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. These are the only Americans that were ever executed in a time of peace for treason. All right, I think it was her brother worked on the Manhattan Project. What was the Manhattan Project?
Atomic bomb.
The project to build the atomic bomb.
Little boy and fat man.
Right, Little Boy and Fat Man with 2 bombs. They were accused of selling nuclear secrets to the Soviets. So at this time, the Soviets still didn't have the bomb. And I think I read somewhere, might not be right on this, there was like a drawing of what the bomb looked like that they gave to the Soviets. But anyway, a drawing of the inner workings of the bomb. At the time, there's a lot of question as to whether or not they really did it. Well, in retrospect, now, like we know because of unclassified documents that they really did it. There was plenty of evidence showing they did it. But they were executed. They were executed on the electric chair. And, the electric chair, they would put that sponge on your head so they got you in one good flip of the switch, and you didn't fry slowly like they do in the Green Mile. No. All right. And, Joseph McCarthy is a senator from Wisconsin around this time that decides to make it his personal mission to try to root out communists in America. He's a Republican. He claims the communists are infiltrating the American government. He even went so far as to go on TV one time and hold up a piece of paper. He said, I have here a list of 205 known communists in the American government, in the State Department, which freaks everybody out. Oh, crap, communists are infiltrating our whole country. They're going to take over the whole world. Well, we found out years later from one of his secretaries that he held up a grocery list. It said like milk, eggs, butter, stuff like that. But he was just trying to do anything he could to drum up support for him because he wanted to be like the guy that America thought was going to be the watchdog for communism because he was worried he might lose his re-election bid to the Senate. In this middle of the picture, you've got Joseph McCarthy there, but this term McCarthyism comes to be used for attacks on suspected communists, but also anybody that's using kind of terror or intimidation type tactics, accusing people of something. If I just go after Davion right there and say, Davion, I know you cheated on that last test. You get a 0, you flunk this semester, and I'll give him any chance to defend himself or prove that he didn't. That would be McCarthyist tactics. Josh?
Right.
And in this cartoon, you see Joseph McCarthy and President Eisenhower. All right, and from that image, who does it look like is in control? McCarthy, right. What's Eisenhower look like he's thinking? You're an idiot?
He's worried.
Yeah, to me it looks like he's worried or scared.
I don't know, it looks mad to me, sorry.
And I think he looks worried, but what's McCarthy doing here?
Signers.
All right, well, this is a bunch of legislation that the president will have to sign. So it's like McCarthy's dipping the pen in the ink, and he's going to hand it to Eisenhower, basically being like, sign this. So this is kind of implying that Joseph McCarthy's telling the president what to do. That even the highest office in America is going to be scared of getting labeled a communist by Joseph McCarthy. Shows you kind of the extent of McCarthy's power at the time. Well, he ends up stumbling when he goes after the army. That was one step too far. He started claiming that there were communists infiltrating the U.S. Army. But when he does this, the army fights back. There were several hearings about it in Congress, and he actually was so cruel with his questioning that the lawyer or counsel for the army started weeping, crying at the hearings. After this, McCarthy was condemned. People started to realize what he was, that he was somebody that just tried to make a political cause out of this and try to make himself America's watchdog. And he died of alcoholism not long after this. I think he was only something like 48 years old when he died of alcoholism. At the end of this, I stuck in a few more slides about the Korean War just so I could help you again picture what's going on in the Korean War. Remember, 38th parallel is that dividing line between the two, and then a couple more images of the Korean
How do they know
Memorial.
where the border is?
How do they know where the border is?
So 38th parallel.
Well,
Yeah, it's the 38th parallel.
How did they determine where the border was?
That's a good question. Hunter asked, how did they determine where the border was? Remember, I said that when World War II ended, the Japanese troops in the northern part surrendered to the Russians, and the Japanese troops in the southern part surrendered to the Americans. So it's basically where the surrender took place. Like the and it's not because they said let's meet at 38th parallel. That's just happened to be where they met, and that ended up being a line that went down in history.
North Korea bigger than South Korea.
Yeah, not by a lot. All right, I said I like this memorial just because you can see some of the terror on the guys' faces. Like, first off, you can tell these guys are carrying a ton on their backs. You can see the big hump under his poncho. But I like the look on that guy's face. Like, he's turning like he's heard something, but he has no idea what it might be.
I know it took forever to call the things.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't an easy process.
Oh, messed up on his face. I'm sorry.
Say what?
Messed up on his face. I'm sorry.
I wonder what kind of maintenance they take. Like if they go out there and scrape dirt.
But that was your job, to go out and scrape the off the statue.
That's a
It'd be a horrible job.
horrible life, like modeling